A week of faith, hope, and love for the modern Christian. I'm Pastor Bill of the Ecclesian House, and in this installment, we are going to talk about Christmas. First off, it is not my job to give you warm, fuzzy feelings or to make you feel good about yourself. So that is not what this is going to be. A year before last, in Season 2, Episodes 4, 5, and 6, we had a great 3-part Christmas series where we talked about the gold, frankincense, and myrrh that the Magi brought to the around 2-year-old Emmanuel, Jesus, in Bethlehem. If you haven't already, then I recommend reading or listening to those episodes. Now, we know Jesus was around 2 years old when the Magi brought him these gifts because the Magi had been following the star in the night sky for 2 years. And Herod ordered all the boys 2 and under to be killed as a result of that timeline. I know that's not what you've seen in nativity scenes or Christmas plays, but there's a lot about Christmas that doesn't match the biblical story. For instance, celebrating the birth of Jesus on December 25th. When we go back to the Bible, we find Zechariah being visited by the angel of the Lord who gives him the news of the pregnancy of his wife with John. Now, 6 months later, Gabriel meets with Mary in Nazareth. According to Luke 1, Zechariah served in the order of Abijah. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce that, but I'm just a boy from Texas. So that would put his time of service at 1 or 2 times a year, 6 months apart from each other. With this specific order serving roughly in or around May and again in or around November. Jesus would have then been born approximately 15 months after Zechariah met with the angel of the Lord, putting Jesus born in either around September or in or around March. Now, there is no precise month to pin down due to a lack of comprehensive historical records of the priesthood until about 70 years later, and then tracking back to make the best educated guess. However, 2 things we do know: he was definitely not born in December, at all. It's not even an option. And we also know that the early church celebrated New Year and the birth of Christ at the same time. Now, the date-ish in our current calendar that they would have celebrated that would have been April 1st, which honestly makes Easter the celebration not just of Christ's resurrection, but also his birth. So what then are we celebrating at Christmas? Well, for one, people groups have historically celebrated the time of the winter solstice, since it's when the nights start to grow shorter and the days start to grow longer. But more than that, January 6th is the day we celebrate the Epiphany, or rather, when the Magi brought gifts to the toddler Emmanuel. We see reflections of this holiday in Christmas, where we give gifts to each other, just as the Magi did to Jesus. In Micah chapter 5, verse 2, there is a prophecy that reads, "Bethlehem Ephrathah, you are small among the clans of Judah. One will come from you to be ruler over Israel for me. His origin is from antiquity, from ancient times." This is the prophecy that was delivered to King Herod in Matthew chapter 2, verse 6, when he asks the chief priests and scribes where the Messiah was born, so that he could trick the Magi into finding the future king for him so he could eliminate the threat posed to his reign. Even the Magi's arrival was prophesied in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 6. It says, "Caravans of camels will cover your land. Young camels of Midian and Ephah, all of them will come from Sheba. They will carry gold and frankincense and proclaim the praises of the Lord." Now, we attribute the Magi with 3 people coming and bringing gifts, but it was just 3 gifts. It was really caravans of folks that came, caravans of camels, and they came in mass and covered the countryside in camels, these marauding Magi who came to worship the Lord. Now, with those gifts, with frankincense and myrrh, we attribute significance in hindsight as to why the Magi would have brought these gifts. Frankincense reminding us of the high priesthood of Christ, and myrrh reminding us of the secret reason of Christ's coming to earth as a man, to die for us. But with gold, it appears to be pretty straightforward, that this gift indicated the recognition of the kinghood of Christ. Now, there is such symmetry between the 3 gifts that the Magi brought and the passage we find in Hebrews chapter 4, verses 14 through 16. The first 2 verses relating to frankincense and myrrh so very well. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast to our confession, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in every way as we are, yet without sin. It's at verse 16 that we find gold and our response to our King, a response that is unique to our King. Therefore, let us approach the throne of grace with boldness, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in time of need. Let's rein this in and refocus. How do we expect a lost, hurting, and dying world who has been taken captive by the enemy to trust us to bring them the gospel, while we embrace the myth and lies of the modern Christmas? Once a year claiming that the birth of Christ is on a day that is neither supported by historical fact or biblical context, only serves to at best water down the gospel, and at worst to lead people away from the Lord. What other convenient lies have we embraced that undermine the gospel? This is Pastor Bill saying, until next time.